Hello, friends. I'm Kerry Farr. Welcome to In Your Corner Live. A friend of ours that's no stranger to anybody in Nashville, Tennessee, Mr. Rob Blair, has joined me. Rob, it looks like a beautiful night out there at the Cash Farm. Looks like you got the Cash Farm behind you. Welcome and thank you for joining me on In Your Corner Live tonight.
Thank you for the invite. This should be fun.
It should be absolutely. And we've got Ron Bailey standing by. We're going to bring him in a little bit and see if he wants to join this conversation because he's going to be in on next Wednesday, and we're doing a little practice run here. Friends, if you're watching, you have any questions, drop them in the comments below, and we'll ask Rob about them in a little while. Rob, give us a little bit of your background. You came from Portland, Oregon, ended up in the Navy down in Pensacola, Florida, and then ended up in Nashville. Tell us a little bit about your background there, brother.
Well, I grew up in the Puget Sound area, Washington State, northwest corner, way up there, and joined the Navy to kind of get out of some little tiny town, and went down to San Diego. I went over here to Tennessee. My first visit to Tennessee was A school over out of Memphis, and then I went to San Diego and jumped on an aircraft carrier and toured the world a little bit and saw a bunch of things I never would have seen in a tiny little town. So, thank God.
How did you like cruising on that aircraft carrier in the Navy?
I really liked it. I mean, it was an adventure for sure. But sometimes those dark nights that are really bright nights when you're out in the middle of the ocean. I remember doing watches, walking the deck, and just me up there, and they're doing like no lights, no nothing, those kind of drills. And you have never seen a clearer sky if you're more than 500 or 1,000 miles away from any city, because cities put light noise up in the atmosphere that bounces for a ways. But when you're hundreds and hundreds of miles away from nothing, it's almost like you can pluck the stars right out of the sky. It's so clear. Anyway, I just remember
you can imagine how they looked when the three wise men were going across the desert 2,000 years ago to see the Lord. Hey, I want to say hello to a couple people. Jonna Sussman's joining us from Kentucky, and then we got a couple of Michiganders joining us. Mona Balgi is with us, and Liz Barnett. So, hello, ladies. It's so good to see you, and or see that you're here with us. So, Rob, you and I met about 15 years ago.
Yep.
Tell us how you got into video production and all of that kind of stuff.
Well, it's interesting. When I was out of high school, out of the Navy, actually, I wanted to get involved in video, and then a job come up at a paper mill, so I went that route instead of going to school, which I was going to go to school for video production. And then 20 some years later, I was at Christ Church, and they had a bulletin up there that says, camera people wanted, no experience necessary. I said, I qualify. So I started, working the cameras, and soon started directing and switching cameras. And I met a mutual friend of ours, Deborah Maffick, and started helping her with her production stuff.
Mrs. America, 1983. Miss America, excuse me. And Rob, you mentioned Christchurch, and what people don't realize was back in those days, Lanny Gardner was the choir director, and they had probably one of the best choirs in the world.
Amazing.
They were so good that Dolly Parton sang songs and had the Christchurch choir back her up. So how did you end up at Christchurch? I mean, I know you're a believer.
It was kind of a funny story. I was going to Bethel because my friends were over there, and they didn't have a really great children's program, and I needed my daughter in a really solid children's program because the marriage was on the rocks, and I wanted her in a stable place. And so I decided I'll go look at another church, and there was one just down Nolensville Road. This is funny. I turned my white van down that way, and we had interviewed that pastor. It's that big white church with the predominantly black. And I didn't know at the time. I was just going to go
way up on the hill. I was there, Rob, believe it or not, that's 50 miles from where I live, and I was over there today. Passed right by that place.
So I go to turn in, and this big big, huge, looked like a football lineman. He was directing traffic, and he's pointing this car in, and he pointed me straight down the road. I'm like, wait, but I wanted to go there. What? He kicked me to the curb. I'm like, okay, I guess I'm not supposed to go there. And so I turned around and went back, and the next church was Christ Church. So I pulled in there, and that's where I was supposed to be. It was a God ordained thing that I was supposed to be connected there, because
Well, tell us a little bit about your faith and how you came to know the Lord.
well, that's an interesting thing too. I came from Washington State, where there was a bar on every corner, and every once in a while you see a church. And then I moved to Pensacola, Florida. There was a church on every corner, and every once in a while you see a bar. I mean, it was a Bible Belt I moved to, and it was actually through a business people are familiar with called Amway, that I was involved in a very strong Christian organization, and I wanted what they had as far as just their loving nature and their what Christ was doing within their lives. And I'm like, this is pretty good. And then I literally walked forward at a function, and haven't turned back since. So that's where I began.
That's where it began. Mona said, guys, you're the best. And Mona, you're only saying that because it's true. And Mona's a dear friend of ours that lives in Michigan. Yeah, and Latrell Lindenfar, I think I know that lady. She says, hi, Rob, the jack of all trades and friend to all people. And then Lorraine Stevenson says, there's that rascal Rob. So, Rob, you really, you started out being a cameraman at Christ Church. And then about 15 years ago, Deb Maffett, as you mentioned, encouraged me to start a television program. And we ended up on NRB first, and then Daystar, and you started helping us produce that show, about 15 years ago, I think.
Yeah, back in the beginning, I know you were the host, and I was wearing most of the other hats.
You were doing it all, and that's been the problem all along. We've never had anybody that really backed us. So,
but you did some amazing things, and we had some amazing interviews over those years.
Well, yeah, we interviewed some incredible people. Yeah, and if we'd have really, most of these guys have big money behind them, but we produced a show for next to nothing.
Yep.
We would get together one Saturday a month, and in the beginning, we filmed at Christ Church, and then we went over to the public access station in Nashville and filmed there for a couple of years, and several women that were like 70 years of age, which young women at that time came there, and they were driving on the sidewalk, which a lot of people did, to drop some stuff off at the public access station. And I think the security guards told them it was okay, but then they gave us, In Your Corner Ministries, that were producing our show at the public access station. It's on a college campus. They gave us demerits like we're 18-year-old kids. And I said to you, we're going to build our own studio and not have to deal with this anymore.
Oh, yeah. I remember some of the interviews weren't there. We went down to, where was it, Tampa, Orlando, and Myron Golden, and where he's come from then to now. Wow.
Myron was at a low point in his life at that time, and we went and filmed. I think we filmed 8 or 9 programs with him and put him on, I think, an entire season on NRB.
Yeah, right at his house.
Yeah, at his house. And I understand he's a multi-millionaire now, and is doing extremely well. And he's a believer in the Lord as well.
I'll tell you a quick story with Myron. I was at a apartment buyers group meetup up in wherever. Anyway, so a bunch of us were at a restaurant, and one of these young guys was African American, but he was a young teacher, and he had something special about him. He had the heart for God and heart for kids, and it was actually very, very special. And they had just had Myron Golden as one of the main speakers at their big, humongous convention that they come back from. And I said, you know what? I used to know Myron. I looked at my phone, and I was like, that can't be his number. It was like 10 years ago or something like that. So I called him. I called him up, and he
Did
said,
he answer?
Rob? He had my number in his and I said, "Hi, I want to introduce you to a young guy." He talked to this young guy for like 5 or 10 minutes. It was just something so special for that young guy to get that kind of a boost. But he did it.
Well,
It was pretty cool.
he's had monumental success financially and, and spiritually too. He's a great Bible teacher.
Yeah.
My dear friend Dottie Wojcik just joined and she said, "Good evening. Astronauts are back on Earth." Are you sure, Dottie? I heard they were going to be in the ocean, not on the Earth.
They're on the globe anyway.
They're on the globe. They're back, and so I'm glad that heat chill worked out well. I did want to say, Mona said, Ada, Michigan, Amway was our family. She did it
Yeah.
too, and so
Wow.
yeah, and and so Lorraine is saying hello to Mona. So Rob, you know got into the film business because of Kenny and Kyle Saylors. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I met Kyle about the same time I met you with that when you were doing
Yeah,
the
you met him the same day, if you remember correctly.
exactly both you guys and so me and Kyle become friends and he wanted me to film something at Christ Church and I had been running the jib camera at Wallace Chapel Sunday nights, so it was the only camera and I got my teeth kind of cut on the jib camera and making it all work doing a one man show with it and it was awesome. So yeah, he invited me to do some stuff with a show. And then, we've been off to the races ever since. Just helped him on a lot of projects over the years, and just had a good time. And I love Kenny and Kyle because they're not like some of these highfalutin directors or producers. They'll actually listen to good ideas, and so I've shared some things, and say, hey, what if we did it like this, or what if we did it like that, and they would actually sometimes follow that advice, or they'd say, yeah, no, we're going a different direction. They say, be nice about it. So
Well, we'll come back and talk about them in a moment. Corey, folks said, hello, Santa.
hey, Corey.
Uh, and James Duncan said, good to see you following your dream, Rob Blair. So,
Jim Duncan is literally my longest friend. I think we met in I can't remember, second, third, fourth grade, somewhere in that, and we're still kicking. Good job, Jim.
but, I remember, Rob, it's been, I suppose, probably 12 years ago, too. Jim Savely
Yeah.
had a television program, and he tell us about his ministry. And you, for several years, produced his television program, and it was on NRB. Tell us a little bit about that.
I was doing same what I was doing for you, but I was helping him with his television program, and he's also got a ministry that goes to an adoption agency. So I actually become a staff as far as their tech guy plus their video guy, and I got the pleasure of going to China with him for their Christmas in July adventure, and that was eye opening. And he had special privileges in China. It was quite interesting, where he could preach the gospel straight up. Baptist ministers preach the gospel in their quote Christian colleges over there, and it was quite an experience. But he was an amazing guy and did some amazing things around the world.
Yeah, he really did, and it's so sad. He died young, and and had such a great ministry. I'm trying to remember the name of his adoption group.
Small World Adoption Agency, and his family still runs it. And he's got a large family that they're all connected, very, very connected. So
Yeah, Ron Bailey says everybody loves Rob. He's an incredible individual. I was in the Christ Church choir, but never had the opportunity to meet him until a few years ago when he was behind the camera filming the Saylors Brothers' new movie, In the Shadow of the King.
oh yeah,
Love getting to work with him. I'll mention one more, then I'll let you respond to that. In the Shadow of the King. Robert Gobelay says, wow, that's awesome. So, to pick up on Ron Bailey's comment there about you being part of In the Shadow of the King, and tell us what that film is about.
that's an amazing film. I'm looking forward to it coming out. I think Kyle's about done with it, I guess, but through the many revisions. But it actually goes through and tells Elvis's faith story. and it focuses more on his faith and what he did, and it's surprisingly different than what people hear in the public arena. And he was a strong man of faith, and you were, a typical concert. You're invited up to the main suite and all that kind of stuff, and that's normally a party and home, crazy time or whatever. That was not the way they portrayed. That's not Elvis. It was gospel music time. It was pretty cool. So it's going to showcase the real Elvis.
And I had the privilege of bringing my friend Jimmy Snow to the table on that. And Jimmy's 89 years of age and produced his television program right here in the studio. And he just had to give it up just a few weeks ago. But he's Hank Snow's son. And in the early days, he was charged with going out to Texas to hear a young singer by the name of Elvis Presley, and took him a letter of intent to talk to his dad, Hank Snow, and Colonel Tom Parker. And in the early days, he traveled with Hank Snow Enterprises, and him and Jimmy Snow traveled in the same automobile for the first year or two before Elvis was really big. And so it was just a blast, because I've been with Jimmy on many road trips, and he's told me so many stories, not only about him, but he was the pastor, Johnny Cash, and so many others here in Nashville. So anyway, tell us what other types of films you've worked on, Rob, with the Saylors Brothers and others.
I was going to say about Jimmy, it's like every time I met Jimmy, he's for 89 years old. He's got one of the sharpest minds I can't even imagine, but I've seen the posters where his name was bigger than Elvis's. That was the way it was back then.
He's told me, he said in the early days, of course, his dad was Hank Snow, and in the early days, he told Elvis that he actually made more money than him, and so that was they kind of laughed about that. And Jimmy was signed to RCA Victor just like his dad in 56 and 57, and then Jimmy had an automobile accident and came to the Lord and literally walked away from the music industry, and Elvis even offered him a part in King Creole, and he walked away from all of that and has been serving the Lord all of these years. So that's an amazing story in itself.
Well, let me tell you about some of my very beginnings in video. This is before Saylor Brothers stuff, before everything. And before I met you, I guess, and this got me the bug, I guess. And we had at Christ Church, we had a large missions conference every year, and I mean hundreds and hundreds of these missionaries would come and share their stories, whatever. And the media department offered to videotape their story and package it together and just literally give it to them, like a 3-4 minute little, piece, so they can advertise and all that. And so it's funny, this one family from Turkey came. I think it was IN International, something like that. And they were doing street miracles. They were handing out 500,000 New Testaments to Muslims on the streets in Turkey.
Really?
Get arrested every couple of weeks. The daughter had to make sure she saw what badge number the cop the arresting cop, so they can find their dad and get him back. I mean, it was crazy, but the way they tell their story, they were so passionate, so animated, so, people that get so animated, so passionate, they're just little nuts.
Yeah.
They both were that way, the father and the daughter. And bless her heart, her name was Joy, and she was so full of the Holy Spirit. It was pure joy. But so we recorded this, and Keith Wonder was our main guy, and he's looked at this and he passes it to Bob Hartline. You remember Bob Hartline? He worked with him.
Yeah. Bob, is he? Finish your story, but is Bob doing okay still?
I think so. But anyway, so they passed this, and so it's too difficult to edit. And so Bob looks at it and he goes, well, let me take the second tier. You try it, Rob. And pass this crazy interview to me. And I'm like, okay, here we go. And I wanted them to tell their story, of course, but I had to cover some of the crazy up with B-roll and this and that and some pictures and little music beds and all that. So I put it out there, and I look back on it now, I was like, oh my God, that's not that good. But I got an email See, this is the thing. You don't know the seeds you plant, where they'll go. And I got an email 3 months later from them, and they said, in 25 years of ministry, we've never had a tool so powerful. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Wow.
And they went on. This is a seed planted. They didn't understand the power of video at the time. They went on to actually do a teaching series. They went on to create a broadcast television station, and the second one broadcasting in Turkey and other places, and for years. And it's like, wow.
That's fabulous. And you've been there's so many things that you've been involved in. I mean, it would take a week to tell it all. But one of the things that's kind of grown out of this, in addition to the Santa Claus thing, is you started doing the red carpet experience. Tell us a little bit about the red carpet experience that you provide.
That's fun. That's one of the, I think, one of the most cost-effective things that someone can do. They spent months and maybe even years creating a movie, and a lot of money sometimes, and so to have that premiere, that red carpet experience, the premiere, they put all their eggs in one basket, and boom, now it's going to go out there. Well, I happened to acquire some really nice red carpet, and I got the stanchions and the ropes and all that, and the lights and backdrops and all. And so I bring everything so someone can actually have a quality red carpet experience.
You
And
just did it for us 2 weeks ago.
people can have cell phones and take quality pictures. I've seen the not quality pictures. It's not good. So I try to make it a good experience for everybody, but it's a good experience for the movie. And the best advertising they can get is everybody sharing good cell phone pictures, walking red carpet. And how I got the red carpet is an interesting little story. We were doing a music video in a small church. They probably sat 100 people, maybe more. And they were giving away a piano. Someone got a piano. This was during our music video. And they mentioned, hey, we're changing the carpet out next week. And I'm like, really? What you doing with the existing carpet? And it's like, wow, throw away. Do you want some? I said, yes, I want some. And she says, how much? All of it. So I got all of this red carpet that was in this church. And it's perfect for a red carpet experience, runways and different things.
Yeah, and you do a great job. Suzanne Hamilton says, hi, Rob. Great to see you.
Hey, Suzanne.
But you and I have been charged with the responsibility of doing an event on April 28th. The Saylors Brothers are having a premiere of one of their films that's going to be sent out by Angel Studios, and you and I are going to be doing the red carpet, and we're going to do it live and interview all of the stars on that movie. And so we'll share more about that a little later.
That's cool.
Corey Folks joins us, and he says, Rob, he said, I always believe in you, Rob. You're the best Santa ever. Tell us about your Santa Claus work, Mr. Blair.
It has been just an absolute blessing. Someone at church a couple years ago said, man, you ever thought of doing Santa? Because I had grown my beard a little bit longer and stuff. And I said, never really thought about it. Started looking into it. And I mean, I found out just the fun you can have with it, number one, but also found out the second avenue, professionally, you can make some pretty good money doing it too. So it's a mix of charity and professional Santa. And I've got to go to places. Some pretty unique places. I guess this last year, one of the cooler places we did Senator Frist's Christmas parties.
Yeah,
party.
Senator Bill Frist, he one of the richest men in America, and our former senator. He was a heart surgeon, and I think they own half the hospitals in Nashville. And you got to do his Christmas party this year.
It was he's a great guy. Him and his wife and the whole staff out there. And I brought a friend of mine as Mrs. Claus. So Anne came with me, and she did great. And they literally loved us. They just were so happy with what we did.
I'm gonna let you tell another story. Let you tell how this all began. Kyle Saylors started something called a Dinner with Dreamers.
Oh, yeah.
And you happened to be living in the log cabin with him and Kenny when it all started. And this thing has grown magically. Sometimes he'll call and there'll be 1,000 people show up, but said, why don't you go back and tell us how that all started?
Well, Kyle's Kyle's ex-wife at the time there, they had just separated there, and they used to have great big Christmas parties, and well, I mean, several trees and just all the things, and a lot of people showed up, and he didn't want to have a Christmas party. That was her thing, and so he decided to do something in the first weekend of January, just kind of kick off connecting people. And it started off small. He thought he was going to have a few dozen people maybe, and then it just grew and grew and grew. And the whole concept with Dinner with Dreamers, that's the log cabin parties that eventually morphed into the Dinner with Dreamers, is how I try to explain it is if you ever gone to a network type meeting, whatever business you're in, it's all about, hey, who are you and how can you help me? Kyle wanted to flip the script on this, and this is why I really bought into it. He wanted to do it opposite. He says, okay, who are you? What's your dream? And how can I help you? Who can I connect you with that can help you with your dream? And that's been the whole gist of the whole thing. Get out of the way, connect people. And that's what we've done. And I've invited several people who invited several people who invited several people, and it just goes on. I don't know who's in the group because of the seeds I planted, but a lot.
A lot. Let me mention a couple more, and I'll let you expand on that a little bit. Candy Lee Blair says, "Hi, Dad."
Candace.
I know she's absolutely precious to you, and
Yeah.
she's a sweetheart, and we all love Candace. And Dave Trotton from Canada. I remember Dave on the Dreamers cruise we were on just a couple months ago to Cabo San Lucas. He said, my wife told me I went on a cruise with this fella in February, but because I didn't believe in Santa, I didn't see him anywhere. Good comment, Dave. Doug Carter says, I'm grateful for the Dinner with Dreamers parties. I've met so many amazing people through the group, and that is absolutely true. So, Rob, you were there in the very beginning. Tell us a little bit more about that.
It's amazing the connections that have been made. I know there's movies been launched, books been launched, music careers have been launched.
People collaborating together.
Collaboration. A lot of people just helping people.
People getting married.
Yeah, people get married. One day I might be one of them, maybe.
You've been to all of the meetings. Let me tell my quick story. I was sitting here in October 21 after my first wife had died, and it was a cool night. And Cal was having an event out at the farm. Matter of fact, right there behind you, you can see a picture of the farm. And from the stage there, I was standing about where you are. Jim Blair is watching from Camano Island, Washington.
That's my brother. Hey, Brother Jim.
Hey, so anyway, it's October, and I was lonely because I've lost 2 wives to untimely deaths, and I almost didn't go out there that night, but I drove over to the cash farm. I mean, exactly right behind you, but I was standing in the barn, and you're sitting about where the barn would be, the opposite side of that stage. And somebody that you had introduced me to that I didn't remember, a guy by the name of Raymond Austin, you had introduced me to him sometime before that. He walked up to me and said, hey, Kerry, said, Rob introduced me to you some time ago. Says, is there anything I can pray with you about? And I said, well, a good wife that could do ministry. And so he walked away, and then he came back and he said, wow. He said, would you like to meet my Aunt Trell? And he showed me a picture, said she just lost her husband. And I thought, well, I'll humor this guy. Yeah, I'd like, next time she comes up here. And the reason I said that was because she was in Texas, Houston, Texas, about 700 miles from here. Lo and behold, it wasn't long after that they all came over here. We came right here in the studio, and then we all went out to dinner, and somehow, some way, the Lord worked that out. And she and I have now been married next month, 4 years. So praise the Lord. That was one connection that happened at the Dinner with Dreamers.
That's a good connection because you guys are a perfect couple for each other.
Well, thank you, Rob. and we love you. So tell me something that that you want to tell me about the Dreamers, or a film that you've worked on, or something that you've done that that was just really exciting.
Well, there's been so many fun things with the Saylor Brothers, of course, jumping from Washington D.C. on a big charity event to um, Phoenix, some other places in Texas. I mean, just so many places we've gone, but just local things, whether it's music videos. I just have a good time helping the story get out. Whatever the story is, I'm all about the story. And Kyle's been like that too. It's that people are more important, so the stories of people are more important than even any project. People are more important. But um, I don't know. There's the no vacancy. I think I probably had some most fun on that one, simply because I didn't wear too many hats like normal. I was just a second AC, which the job doesn't sound that exciting. It's the guy that does a little clapper thing, and he's changing lenses, and he's running the cards back to the people, and that is. But you're right in the room, right there with the action, all the time. I mean, the director's there, the assistant director's there. Director might be back at the video desk, but you're there. You see everything happening, and that's kind of cool. I really enjoyed that special privilege. And
Well, yeah, and those are, and I'll mention one or two too. Marty Luffman, I wanted to mention him. He's is a very successful man that owned a insurance agency. He still owns it in Smyrna, Tennessee, and he was in a car accident about 5 years ago. A truck ran over him in his Camaro, and he's been crippled ever since then. But he said he used to park cars for Bill Friss on his horse, so that must have been at some function, because Marty was a champion shooter. I mean, pistol shooter, riding those horses and shooting at targets. And that guy with that golden voice, Greg Marlowe's joined us from East Tennessee. And let's see, my wife says, God does good things for kingdom purposes. You are a good example, Rob, and so are we. And Mona says, I love Dreamers after meeting Kenny Saylors and Carrie Farr and Latrell Linden Farr in 2023, and got invited. Such a blessing to be part of this wonderful group. This wonderful community of talented creators.
Mona's fun. We got onto the cruise ship, and on the last cruise we went on to, and we got on early and went down to where my room was. I was sharing it with Yabetz. Yabetz, that's a whole nother story in itself. But anyway, so we got on in there, and where it was, the balcony was right where people were coming onto the cruise, and they went this way and then that way. So they're coming up during a long plank, and we were just like, "Hey, welcome to Carnival Cruise! Sorry for the delay." We were the official greeters of I don't know, 100 people or something. But it was just, she had fun, I had fun. It was a blast.
we had a lot of fun. I want to talk about something we did when we went to Cabo San Lucas. That 2 days we were there, but I want to. Well, I better tell that story before I forget. I think it was Mona and 2 or 3 of the other ladies went ashore, and we were in Cabo San Lucas, and there was this Mexican lady standing there singing like opera type music, And so I asked her if Latrell and Mona, and I think Paula was there, could sing with her, and they went up next to her and started singing gospel music, and people started gathering around, and that was just such a wonderful experience for all of us too. And then as they were singing, we had met on that same cruise. All of us had met this group of Korean ladies that were on that cruise. They had flown from Seoul, South Korea, and they were on that same cruise with us. And those Korean ladies started coming over, and they were all singing the gospel in English. It was just actually the Koreans were singing it in Korean. Yeah. The Mexican girl was singing it in Spanish, and then our girls were singing it in English, and it was just beautiful. But I wanted to take you back, Rob. In 2021, I lost my second wife in April, and to untimely death. And for some reason, I'd been producing this television show for 15 years, and you were right there helping me all the way. Couldn't have made it without you. But I decided, I learned about this town down in about an hour and a half south of us here, called Hohenwald, Tennessee, and we learned later that Hohenwald means high forest in German, so it must have been Germans that settled that area. But they were losing like one kid a month to fentanyl overdose, and I said, "Hey, Rob, I want to film a documentary." Had no background, no experience whatsoever, but we got you and Jeff Yarbrough together and a couple other people, and we went down there and spent several weeks filming Hope Lives in Hohenwald, our very first documentary that won, I think 5 best documentaries in Christian film festivals back in 22, I think. But tell us about that experience, Rob, when we went down there and didn't know what we were doing, but we ended up getting it done.
Well, I knew what I was doing, but I was a cinematographer on that one, and that was a special project because it really meant something. It's kind of one of those legacy things because, doing that and showcasing what they did down there, changes lives, and they were changing lives. And for us to do a little bit of reenactment and pull that off and put it all together, that was real special. That one was one of those ones you look back on. I'll probably talk about that one, 20, 30 years from now if I'm still around, because that meant something. That was a good one.
Well, Latrell and I were down there, and Robert Gobelay said that was really cool. He helped us some on that as well. And Latrell and I were down there about a year ago, and they said, they built the Hope Center. They started winning these kids to the Lord. They built the Hope Center for the men and built the Hope Center for the women, started leading all these kids to the Lord. And I think they said they might be losing one a year now as opposed to one a month like it was before. That's how much it's changed.
That's a big difference. Those are lives, not just the losing of lives, but the information throughout the county or whatever is, I'm sure, a lot less addiction, a lot less all the other stuff, not just the loss of life, but a lot less trauma that surrounds all that.
And Rob, over the years, you have supported yourself, because they say if you want to make $1 million in the movie business, start with 2. And I never had $1 million, but I learned real quick that you'll spend a lot of money producing documentaries and producing programming. But you have supported yourself because you are, like Latrell said, a jack of all trades. You can build anything. And, tell us a little bit about, your ability to build things.
Well, yeah, I can build just about anything from the top of the house to the bottom of the house, from the foundation to plumbing, electrical, flooring, tile, kitchens, baths. I've just done a couple of bathroom models recently, and they turned out pretty awesome. And like your 2-car garage that's turned into quite the master bedroom with the bath.
It's a big master bedroom, and the reason we did that was because we started doing all of these live streams, and we had people staying with us, and people that were younger, and we had 3 bedrooms on one end of the house, and everybody wanted to stay up till 12 or 1 o'clock at night. And so Latrell and I said, let's convert this garage down here at the other end of the house. And so now we sometimes stay up that late, but usually we say good night all. We'll see you in the morning and run back to the house that Rob built, the suite that Rob built in our house.
It reminds me that 2-car garage, because I was thinking about it today. I lived in a converted garage years and years ago, shortly after I got separated from my ex-wife. And I was, just struggling financially because I was paying the rent for them, and I kept that going because I wanted the family to stay in a safe place, And one of the things that helped me with faith was this tiny little. It's a tiny story, but it meant a lot to me. I had a few jobs didn't come through at the very end of a certain month, and I was like $200 shy, just $200 shy to make the rent, and I didn't have it anywhere. I mean, I was looking. I turned on the TV, my little tiny $5 black and white TV I had, literally $5. I got at a yard sale, and and, and this preacher was saying, whatever your need, it's already there. That was his message. It's already there. And I'm like looking around at my little apartment thing, and I'm like, there's nothing worth more than $5 here. I mean, what are you talking about? $200 is not already there. I'm panicking a little bit, but I on faith I thought, okay, I did some Pizza Hut delivery, and I've got like a couple of peanut butter jars. I mean, not big, like not just big, whatever, and quarters and things, and dimes or whatever. And I'm like, I got a bunch of those paper things. I'll throw them on the bed and I'll start rolling there. There's probably 30, maybe $40 in there. I'm gonna on faith start, okay, because I know that's there. So I don't know what the next step is, but I'm gonna start on faith that that's there. So I started rolling these quarters and the dimes and stuff, and I kept rolling and I kept rolling, and it felt like the oil in the jar. There was those two jars had $220 in them. It was not only $200, but it was enough for a tithe on that thing. But that gave me that was amazing. It just gave me faith again because I was losing it at that moment. So those two jars had over $200 in it right there.
And that's something. I can remember a time in my life, honestly, where I had to break into my daughter's piggy bank when she's got kids her own now, grown kids, but had to break in her piggy bank to buy gas.
Yeah.
And if you've never experienced that, it's not fun, but it's a great lesson to go through. And I wanted to say, Robert said he still does stuff with the Hope Center every week. Amazing ministry. Robert, I guess you're working with those guys down there in Hohenwald.
Cool.
One of the things that I've got to do is the guys over at Good View Television, Stephen Dunn, and I are collaborating on putting together a recovery channel on the Good View TV network. And, we produced this course called Addiction Knockout 7 or 8 years ago, and it's been used in a number of places. And for some reason, I haven't been able to get I want to get half a dozen people in this studio right here and teach through that course book, Rob, with you here filming it and handing a microphone to these people that are going through recovery so that we can get that thing started. And I've really struggled. Seems like everybody that I've called to help me with that won't return my call. And so I guess I'm just waiting on the Lord and his time. But if anybody knows somebody that can help us with that, we certainly want to do that. And Doug Carter says, Jehovah Jireh, the Lord will provide.
Amen. He does.
Yeah. So Mona's clapping for you. She's putting, and so Rob, what are, there's so many more things that you've done. Tell us something else really exciting that you've done while living here in Music City, USA.
Well, I think some of the Santa stuff is really getting fun, and one of the funny things I've done is I've gone downtown, not too late, where people are drunk and walked in
at Christmas season, right?
Christmas time, and as dressed up as Santa, and it is absolutely amazing what happens. I'll just walk in there and not say nothing, and people say, "Hey, Santa's here," and the band will stop, Santa, and often they'll change their set and sing a Santa song, and so I'm just just hugging on people. They're hugging, getting pictures or whatever. And I remember this one time I walked to this one place, and this little old lady, she had to be 80 years old. She was sitting right at the corner, and she's like, Santa. It was her grandson actually singing up at the stage, and so the music was happening. And so she just grabbed my arm, and we started doing some dancing right out the middle of the place, and people were cheering, and it was a good time. I just love making people smile and having a good time.
And Helga Sparks has just joined us, Rob. And you grew up close to her. She lives in the Pacific Northwest of Canada, and you were up there in Washington State and all that stuff. So she says, great, encouraging testimony. Thanks for sharing. And that is a wonderful testimony. And you talk about going downtown Nashville, like on Broadway. Man, I'm telling you what, that place there's probably 50,000 people downtown on any given night. You're down there going into all of that. That's pretty amazing. Give us one of your favorite faith stories, Rob. You
Uh,
shared one about yourself there.
well, I'll share. That's a little bit different, but I'll share a little bit of growing up. My dad was talking about my dad. He was kind of a hard guy. This is Northwest Washington State, and we grew up. I never heard the words. Um, I love you. I'm proud of you. Any kind of encouragement like that. We just did. He never said those. And so when I moved to Pensacola and become a Christian and I got around good Bible believing people, I found out, hey, it was okay for guys to say I love you to guys. It's like, that's interesting. And so I didn't call my dad too often. He never called me, but I called him about once a month, every 2 months, something like that. And so I said, okay, I'll try this. I think I read her book somewhere. I said to my dad, I said, love you. And it was just silence on the other end of the phone. And that was it. Goodbye. And that went on for about a year or so. And then finally he said, me too. I said, love you. He said, me too. And then it slowly increased over a few more years. I said, love you, Dad. And he said, love you. And he'd start saying, love you back. And the last words that I ever heard from my dad, he died of a heart attack about a month later, instantly. But it was the most complete sentence he ever said. I said, I love you, Dad. And he says, I love you too, son. Those were the last words I ever heard from my dad.
That's precious, Rob, and I'm sure everybody's got tears in their eyes, except for Dan Baird. He says everybody loves Santa unless they're on the naughty list. And Lorraine Howard, and Dan's joining us from Indiana, I think, or I can't remember if Dan lives in Indiana with Danette, or does he live in Michigan?
Where does Dan? I think he's in Michigan or something. He didn't live in the same place that Danette does.
And Lorraine Howard from Texas, Wichita Falls, Texas, up there on the Red River that separates Texas and Oklahoma, says, love you guys. We love you too, Lorraine. And Corey Folks is replying to Dan Baird. Hi, Dan Baird, the elf. I don't know what that's about. Dan says he does live in Indiana.
Okay. I'll tell you a quick Santa story on the cruise. This was sweet. So I was Santa Cruz. I come up with that name the day we got on the cruise. I'm going to be Santa Cruz. That was my karaoke singing name. I was just Santa Cruz, and I wore red, so I represented, And we're having breakfast this one morning, and this little boy comes up to me, and he was so very timid. He says, "Excuse me, sir. Excuse me. Are you Santa?" It was so sweet. I said, "Shh, I'm on vacation."
Ah.
And he says, "Oh, okay." And I talked to him for a little bit and encouraged him, but it was just so sweet. Oh, okay. He had a story to tell when he got back home, I guarantee you.
Out of all your travels, what is the most fun thing or most adventurous thing that you've ever done that you remember so well?
I probably many things, but one pops out when I was young in the Navy. I got to travel through Hawaii a handful of times, and the Philippines and Singapore and Australia and Africa, Madagascar, maybe a few other places. But I got to see the world a little bit. And I got the chance to, and I learned some lessons in everything I do, but I got the chance to go to Africa, Kenya specifically, Mombasa. And we parked. The aircraft carrier seemed like it was a mile out to sea, and we ferried in little boats to the dock. It was kind of crazy, and they offered us something. Of the whole battle group, and there's 7,000 people in the battle group. They offered us this safari, and it was to go to the base of Mount Kilimanjaro, where Wild Kingdom was filmed. Most of them were filmed there, and so I said, "Yeah." We paid half; they paid half. And I got to take that little trip. There was about 24 of us actually took them up on it. And man, I'm so glad I did because, first of all, I got to see the animals in their environment, all of them. I mean, just amazing what we saw. But I also saw something that just a life lesson. We went to these little villages, and these people had nothing. I mean, they made $1 a month maybe, and the most money they ever saw is when we come through, we'd pay them $1 to take a picture with them, and I was like, that was riches to them. That was like huge. But I saw the kids in the background, and they're just running down. They had this wire, not a wire, it's a vine wheel they made out of vines, and running down with a stick, and they were happy as anybody you've ever seen in your life, and they had nothing. So happiness has nothing to do with how much you have. It's a mindset. It's a experience. It's what are you doing right now? So I tried to, with that in mind, I tried not to take anything for granted. Even this morning when I was taking a shower, I said, thank you, Lord, for hot water.
Amen.
Because there's a time I didn't have it.
Been there, done that. Yeah, and I've been there in on the mission field and seen those people with nothing. Saw a young man. Somebody had taken a plastic milk bottle, cut the top out of it, and took the lid, the screw-on lid from the milk bottle, a piece of wire, and made him a car or a little truck that he was pulling out of a plastic milk jug. Made it, and he was just as happy with that as you could imagine.
Yeah.
The sheriff's here. He says, "Howdy, y'all." Talking about Kelso Butcher.
Hey.
And he says, Dynamite Rob in the house. And then John Graham just joined us, Rob. I think John's going to be on
Oh, cool.
week from Monday.
Wow.
He is the travel agent to, I don't want to say the stars because that's the stars, a travel agent to the rest of us. And he is an amazing guy. We love John Graham and can't wait to get him on and tell some of his stories. You got anything you want to talk about, John or Kelso, tonight, Rob? Kelso was on the program last night. We interviewed Kelso and Raymond Austin last night. They've been filming some stuff with a donkey that Kelso's been training out at Faye Baldwin's house.
I thought Kelso is one of the reasons I got this beard still, because I would have normally shaved it off in January. But he says, well, we got a movie coming up that we might need you in. You know, we want that 1800s, prospector look or whatever. So I think I'm joining their posse, their group. They're a crazy bunch of people doing all these train robberies and different things. So,
well, you and Raymond were over here, I think, a week ago. In fact, I posted a picture of you with that gun barrel and, you up close, and you guys were filming each other in some cowboy scenes.
Oh, it's fun. It's a whole.
Hey, John Graham wants you to talk about. I've got two. First of all, James Duncan wants you to talk about divine intervention. Have him talk about our car wreck, and then John Graham wants you to talk about your karaoke career. So, and then I got a couple more comments. They're coming in like crazy now. So go ahead, take whichever one of those you want to take first, Rob.
It was a challenging one. The car wreck. We were, I don't know, we were 22 years old, something like that, and we just dressed up to go downtown to the local little club in that tiny little town. And Jim had this 280Z, 1978, I think, 280Z. And he went around a corner where the bushes were hiding the stop ahead sign right there. And we know that because we went back the next day. The city had cut it down because they didn't want to get sued. Literally, they cut all the bushes down to the ground. But we knew what we saw, what we didn't see, And so we jumped across the 4-lane road. We hit a small embankment. We jumped up into a telephone pole, and God was with us. And neither one of us really knew God at all, just kind of like the big guy in the sky at that time, And so God was with us because we should have died. If we'd have missed the telephone pole, it went down a embankment, it would have flipped over and crushed us instantly. So hitting that pole about 12 feet in the air, somehow it turned the car, and somehow it went down that 20-foot drop, and somehow it landed on his wheels. It's a miracle that we did not die instantly on that situation. And the funny part is, we were both knocked out. I woke up first. My door was crushed, and so I crawled across Jim trying to wake him up. He was out. Got out. He finally woke up. I drug him out, and we started walking the 3/4 of a mile or something like that down this road to get to this little convenience store, which was a convenience store, the video store, this store, the bowling alley in the back. There was one of those, all in one. And Jim had just bought this nice Botany 500 suit, 3-piece suit. And I said, Jim, take your vest off, because he was cut from here to here all the way. He was open. I had 50 stitches. I looked like Frankenstein. I had cuts all crushed like this. So we were bleeding pretty bad. He was bleeding down his face because of that. I said, take your vest off and put it on your head. He said, no, I just bought this. I was like, Jim, you're going to die. Put this on your head. So he did. And so we made it to this little convenience store. And I kid you not, I mean, God saved our lives. And I don't want to put, that's huge, for one. And we didn't break any bones even. That's just a miracle. We just got cut up pretty bad. As we walked into this convenience store, this poor little girl at the cashier thing, she had her back turned toward us. She was watching the latest Friday the 13th or one of those horror flicks.
Oh my!
And excuse me, can you help us? She turned around and turned every shade of white you can possibly imagine. But she quickly gained her thing and called 911 and got the ambulance there and all that. But just to see the shock on her face, we laugh about that from that.
That had to be hilarious.
God saved us 100%.
Well, amen. Well, I got a bunch of comments here. Michael Dinkins says, hey, guys, fun show. Glad to be with Rob on a movie set last month as he builds on his acting career. And then John Graham had asked you to talk about your karaoke career.
Karaoke, John. Oh, my God. The first cruise, it was a bucket list thing. I don't sing very well at all, like not. I used to say, the comment, you can't find a tune in a bucket. I couldn't find a bucket. I mean, and so, but I've been trying and learning and getting a little bit better here and there. And so I thought, I'm going to sing on a cruise. That'd be cool. That's like a bucket list thing. I'm going to sing karaoke on a cruise. And I talked Brian right into helping me. And this is funny because he was going to sing with me the song, but something happened to the mics.
Hey,
and he left.
Rob, John's a song leader, worship leader at a big church in Atlanta. You weren't telling that part.
Oh yeah. John's like the master song leader, and I'm not. and then Brian Wright, he leaves stage and does some kind of interpretive dance. So I'm singing by myself. and then John, from that moment, he started calling me the karaoke king. Oh Lord. So every year I have to do a karaoke song for sure for the cruise. And this last one was surprising. I came in what it could have been third place in our contest. So the second place winner was looking at me like she almost lost. She thought she was scared because of the clapping, but they were clapping for Santa.
I was there. You did great. John Graham says, bad Leroy Rob. And Lorraine Howard, who is a master photographer, lives over in Texas, said, can't wait to be there and have you as our Santa.
Yep.
And she said, Santa will be this year, so she's going to take some video of you. And Kelso says, welcome to the posse dynamic, Rob. So you can see everybody loves Rob. What is something let me ask you this before I ask you that. If somebody wants to put you in a movie, or have you do some work for them behind a camera, or remodel their kitchen or their garage into a master suite, how would they connect with Rob Blair?
Easiest way is find me on Facebook and message me that way. Just message me that way. If you got my number, call me, but message me on Facebook. Santa can be, I have a name, thenashvillesanta.com. It's a small little page, ain't much. I got to work on it, but Patsy's going to help me this year do some marketing and do some things. So I'm going to do a lot more Santa. And I got to tell you this, Carrie, I ran into a mutual friend of ours that he's one of the guys I brought to Dreamers, in fact, because he was my Sunday school teacher. Ken Abraham, one of the most prolific, successful collaborators, authors out there. I think he's got, 16, 17 New York Times bestsellers. The book he's writing right now I told him about the Santa story and the message behind it. He said, "That's good. You got to finish. Do it. Do it. Do it." So that was cool. But the one he's doing right now, ask him what he's doing. He's coincidentally actually writing Senator Frist's book right now. And I told him about your podcast, and I said, we need to get you on. And he said, yeah, let's get in touch and make it happen.
You know, let's talk about that for a moment, because 15 years ago, you brought Ken Abraham to the table, and we interviewed him in that very first year when we were on the air. A fabulous interview. And, you know, he's, I think I'd ask him, I can't remember exactly how I phrased it, but, you know, is your name on the front of the book? Or, you know, he says, well, it depends on how big the check is. So, you know, for you and me, his name would be on the book, but for those people that can write a big check, he's, I guess, what you call a ghostwriter, but the very...
No, not a ghostwriter. No. He's a collaborator. I asked him that exact question. I said, what's the difference between a ghostwriter and a collaborator? And he says, a collaborator, the check has one or two more zeros at the end.
That's the truth. I know he wrote that big book that Joel Osteen had, and I think he wrote George Foreman's book too. Man, he's a prolific author, and I would absolutely love, to connect with Ken Abraham again. That would just be incredible.
That'll happen. Possibly Senator Frist might be on too. We'll see if that can make that happen.
Let's see if you can make that happen, because you know, we're a Christian ministry, and I don't want to get too deep into politics, but I'd love to interview Senator Frist.
He just does not get into politics. Senator does not at this stage of his life. It's charities and different things, and so it's very, very interesting. Ken made a point of that. He don't wade into any of that anymore.
You know, he was up there for 1 or 2 terms, and he didn't need it like so many other people, and he walked away, you know, and so, you know, an amazing person. Dan Baird says, have an option on your site to get on the nice list for only $25. Probably make a lot of money with that.
There we go. When I'm walking downtown in the bars or whatever, people would ask me. A lot of times it's the girlfriend or the guy who was there. Is he on the naughty list or the nice list? And I said, this is my standard answer. Well, he's teetering just a little bit, and just everybody laughs.
You know, I think Dan came up with a great idea. If you could do a certificate that you got, this is Santa, you're on the nice list, and $25, man, you sell 1,000 of those, you'd have 25 grand. You wouldn't have to worry about the $300 anymore, Rob.
Let's go. That's right.
That's a great idea. Lorraine Howard says she's going to be here in the first week of May. They're looking to move from Texas over here.
Oh, cool.
And she wants to make Patsy Mrs. Claus. I don't know if Raymond would approve of that or not.
I think they've been talked about that. Patsy wants to be Mrs. Claus, so we'll
Oh, does she really? Well, how cool is that?
And makes a good Mrs. Claus as well. We got a few people that do make good Mrs. Clauses. So.
Rob, what have I not asked you that all of these people that love you, all of these people that love you that are watching tonight needs to know about Rob Blair?
Oh, I don't know. Well, that's the prayer request. Is I'm looking for my real Mrs. Claus. One day, somewhere, she'll appear. And so, but you have to like Santa Claus, or else that's not going to happen.
Well, you know, as you said, we love you, Rob, and I have no problem telling people that I love you, your dear brother in the Lord. And we've prayed, Latrell and I, you know, we were both, I think I'd lost my second wife. I think it was over a year before but the first time I got married within 7 months, and a lot of people were critical of that. So nobody's going to be critical of you because you've waited a long time.
Long time. Oh, let me tell you one more quick log cabin story, and that's I did a lot of fix up on that log cabin when I was staying there. You know, rotten wood and this and that, and floors and bathroom remodels and all that kind of stuff. But the one cool little piece, when he went to sell the place, Kyle wanted a sliding bookshelf at one time, and I convinced him to put an armoire to make it like a Narnia door, so up into his editing room, the bonus room above the garage. So I made that armoire, and it was basically a Narnia door. You walk through the closet up into the thing, and of the furniture that was in the house and everything else, the guy that bought the place, I think his name's a musician named Billy Springs, in the contract, he says, leave the Narnia door. The armoire. He wanted a piece of furniture. He liked it. So,
Cool.
we surprised a lot of people with that little thing.
Your brother Jim is saying, "How's your book, The Last Mermaid, coming along?"
Oh, I'm working on the Santa Claus one now, and I've got a really unique story. Everybody that's heard of pieces of it, even Ken Abraham, said this is a good story. You got to finish it. And I want to play Santa. That's why I'm writing the story, so I can play Santa. But let me tell you about Jim a little bit. He had lost his partner a few years back, a lifelong partner a few years back, and he was kind of in a little depressed state kind of thing. And I said, let's do something. Let's do a bucket trip. And so I flew out to Seattle area where he lives, and we jumped in the vehicle, and lo and behold, a month before we left, he'd met a lady that they're partners, they're life partners, and she's a wonderful gal, and they're a good match. And she jumped in the car with us, and we did a bucket list trip from there all the way to Nashville. We took our time. We saw everything you can possibly see along the way, from Dances with Wolves, all that scenery.
Yeah, and you camped out along the way too, didn't you?
Under the stars, in the mountains, in the Rockies, at the great, what do you call it, Continental Divide. A friend of ours has property up there, and we stayed in this glamper whatever thing. Anyway, and had a hot tub out in the middle. It was a heck of a trick. It was amazing, and it went to Iowa, the Field of Dreams, and me and my brother we played baseball at the Field of Dreams. I was pitching, and he
said, "If you build it, they will come," and you guys proved them true.
That was one of my special trips of my life. Was me and my brother coming down here. And he stayed in the hospital for a few weeks.
I remember when you did that because I followed your journey on Facebook as you posted all that stuff. Jim Duncan says he's a lifelong friend who always has your back. I've been blessed with him.
Amen, Jim. You're right. I got your back. Vice versa.
What else do we need to know about you, Rob, before we end this interview tonight? Anybody have any questions about Rob? Any ladies out there that want to share a phone number or anything? He'd probably be afraid to call you.
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm just looking for. I turned 65. I had. Some of you know I have a surprise birthday for myself every year. Don't tell me. and Michael Dinkins hosted it one year. This last year, that was amazing. With the Hulu, you were there at that one.
We were there.
That was a fun time. Jeff Yarbrough, we had at the dock at the Percy Peace Lake several times, and we just have a really fun time doing those kind of things. I don't know where it's going to be this year. I do turn 65 this year, although when I started turning about 55, I think I turned the clock around. I'm aging backwards, so I feel younger, more healthy, more alive, and more confident.
Well,
so
that's a good thing. Robert Gobelay says he loves working with your brother. Bob Lorraine Stevens says Bob and I love him. Everybody loves Rob. They just like everybody loves Raymond, right?
Well, I love everybody, and it's a wonderful thing. And if I had to mean someday to do what you and Latrell are doing up there, you're at the Forest State, and just have everybody come over, and you guys do such a ministry there. It's fellowship. It's a family. It's amazing what you guys have created there. So I'm glad to be a little teeny tiny part of that.
All we do is invite people to stay with us, and boy, it's been wonderful, hasn't it? I mean, so many relationships been built here. Lorraine Howard says you just make me smile so big when I'm around you, Rob.
Right on. Mark Delisandro, I remember one time you guys had gone to bed. It was like whatever, 10 o'clock-ish or whatever. And we were out doing something, visiting somebody. And it was just so funny because we were acting silly. It's like we were pretending we were teenagers, and we snuck into the house, your house, and we raided the refrigerator, and we were just having a ball, just being goofballs. And Mark is something. Mark, Sylvester Stallone's stunt double. And quick story about Mark on one of the cruises, the first one, I think it was. We were second, whichever one he was on. We were in one of the balcony suites, and he said, "Hey, take this picture. Take this picture. I'm going to lean over the side, this glass side, and you take the picture." I'm holding his feet under my armpit. I'm literally, and with his cell phone in my other hand, and he's looking at the glass. I'm holding it down and trying to take a picture with him. His body is over the edge of the boat.
Is that out in the ocean?
I had his life in my arms. I'm like, I'm not going to let go. But he trusted me so much. He was over the edge. I'm like, oh my God, I got to get this picture fast. Because, I mean, that guy's nuts.
Yeah, Mark is Paula Slow's got this new song, Good Kind of Crazy. Mark's Good Kind of Crazy. Lisa Dinkins says, my favorite memory of Rob when he spoke to my son over the phone about youth ministry. And then she says, and then he shared about the Hohenwald documentary, and now we have an art ministry with the house, with the Hope Center women. And Lisa, I don't know if you were on earlier, I have got to get a group of people in recovery together in the studio and teach through our addiction knockout. We're putting a free recovery program on the Goodview TV network, and we still have to do that. And Lorraine Howard says, yes, first cruise, that was crazy. So she remembered what you did there with Mark De La Sandro. And Vicki Lynn talking about what we do here at our place is, she says, it absolutely feels like family.
Yep.
And Vicki, you're always welcome. And Vicki's got an amazing voice, and we'd love to have her come out and sing more often. But she always has to work late. Kathy Bell is joining us from up there in Indiana.
Kathy.
Hello, Mom Bell. Good to see you. Well, Rob, what else do we need to talk about before we let you go tonight? It seems like everybody's enjoying hearing from you. Oh, yeah, and then we've got the spammer here. He says, cheap viewers, streambo.live, remove the space. Thank you, spammer. We appreciate you joining us for all of these events. I don't know that it helps you at all, but it helps us to hear from you.
Well, I tell you what I want to do here. I do want to do some more acting. I can of course be Santa or anything like that, but I can do the crazy. I got crazy hair. I can become the homeless.
You got a head of hair. I'm telling you, still.
Take this in as a her. So, good Lord. Oh, Mark D'Alessandro says everybody claims it, but Mark says it that I'm his best student. And
no doubt about it.
Hair to flip and do that kind of stuff.
Latrell says, y'all come to the Far Haven and join the family. That's my wife by way of Texas. What, I'll ask you one or two more questions, then I'll let you go. What would you like to accomplish? We don't know if we got a day left. We don't know if we got 5 years or 10 years left, whatever. What would you like to accomplish? Because you said you're going to be retirement age, and I know you're not going to retire. But what would you like to accomplish in the rest of your life, Rob?
I would like to focus on anything that's a legacy type story, whether I'm acting in it or filming in it or writing it. I want to do things that move people in the right direction. And like the Hope That Lives in Hohenwald documentary there, or some of the ones with Kyle and Kenny. They're doing legacy things that are moving people in the good direction, giving hope.
And we'd like to do a lot more of that too, but we need somebody to come along and fund it. It's just we don't spend all the money. I do want to say that Sunday evening at 6 p.m. we have a Sunday evening service, and this Sunday Latrell and Lorraine will be here singing. And there's 35 to 40 million people that can't go to church on Sunday, and that's why we're doing this. But I'm going to talk about, some reasons why you can absolutely believe in the Bible and you can absolutely believe in Jesus Christ. I'm going to give you some reasons for that. And so join us Sunday night at 6 p.m. And Rob Blair, is there anything else that we need to talk about while you're here? We'll certainly have you on again. You're going to come in Tuesday night because I'm interviewing David Reeves of David Reeves Ministry, a brilliant young man who owns the Wonder Center here in Dixon, Tennessee, and he's kind of like Ken Ham. He is a Christian that's knows a lot about creation science and stuff like that, and he is going to defend the faith here on Tuesday night. You're going to be in the studio because we're interviewing him here Tuesday night. Then on Monday night, we're interviewing Tasha Mack, who's a real estate agent helping people get into their home for the first time. And she wrote a book about raising an autistic child. So, Corey, you need to be watching that Monday night. So that's what we got. And by the way, I'm sorry, we lost our friend. He's disappeared. That was going to be on with us tonight. Ron Bailey. Ron was on earlier and was evidently we're trying to figure out, trying to help him use his phone so I can interview him here on Wednesday night. So
it works so much better from a computer as opposed to a phone, I think.
Yeah. And Mona says you could go visit the Wonder Center. You could go to the Johnny Cash Hideaway Farm where Rob is. Who you talking to, Mona? Those people that Trell invited to come see us?
Yeah. Just right here. Come behind me, right there. See the Cash Farm.
Rob, tell us a little bit about the Cash Farm before we go. We'll let this be, Brian and Sally Oxley bought this thing, I don't know, 15 years ago. Tell us a little bit about it.
It's pretty awesome. Brian and Sally Oxley bought it, and it's interesting. It's a log cabin, and whoever had bought it had walled up with drywall inside, and they went to fix a leak or something, and they tore it out, and they found out there's a log cabin behind us. So they literally remodeled it back to its original log cabin, and added to it and all that kind of stuff. But it's 100 and some acres. Raymond knows all the specifics because they work out there often, but it's a beautiful place. It's got stages. It's got this car is the One Piece at a Time car from the song Johnny Cash, and it's that actual car, and so he has that and some other cars
over
out
your shoulders. That One Piece at a Time Cadillac.
That's it right there.
Yeah. How many Cadillacs did they use to make that Cadillac?
I don't remember.
Raymond knows that too. Oh, Ron Bailey's back. Let me see. Let's just see if we can pull Ron in for a moment.
Hey, Ron.
Ron, we're going to see if we can pull you in here, brother, because we're going to interview Ron next Wednesday. Let's just get there's Ron Bailey. Hello, Ron. Let me see if I can get all three of us here. All right, so Ron, you're going to have to scoot over. You got to scoot to your right. There you go. Or move your camera or something. Ron, can we hear you? Can you talk at all?
I can talk. I can't see you guys.
Can't see us.
Ron, sing something for us a cappella. Ron, sing something for us and show us what we're going to get Wednesday night.
I'm trying to. Okay. Let's see.
Sing something for us a cappella.
Okay. Yeah. In a little small town, just a little south of the border, I saw her sitting there looking at me, and I started to water. Well, then I started working her way, and she belongs to the bandman Jose. And I knew I should leave, but then she said something, and I'm a little bit closer. You're my kind of man. You're so strong and so bold. Come a little bit closer. I'm all alone, and the night is so long. How's that?
Amen. I remember that song. Ron, we got to work on this before next Wednesday night, brother. We can't even see you, but we can hear you. So, Rob, I'm going to let you say whatever else is on your mind, and then I'm going to cut you loose tonight, brother. We've had a nice group that's followed you all night long, and we want to thank everybody for joining us.
Amen.
Jonna Sussman says she lives in a log cabin and she loves it. Yeah, that's wonderful.
That's cool.
What else do you have to say before we say adios tonight, my friend?
I just thank you, everybody, for showing up, and thank you for the years of friendship. And I look forward to many more years of connections and friendships and whatever life throws at us, good, bad, ugly, we're going to make it all fun. And that's what one of my mottos is. Whatever I'm going to do, two things. I'm going to have fun at it, but if I'm working, it's as unto the Lord, not unto men. So I always do the best I can with whatever I'm doing, whether it's telling a story or whatever it is. So,
Rob, you know, you're the guy that's been working behind the camera, but tonight was your night, and I can tell you everybody loved it. Thank you so much for joining us, and Lord willing, I'll see you on Tuesday.
Amen. Thank you, Kerry, for all you do, because you do so much behind the scenes, and you're in front of the camera, but what you do behind the scenes and to organize all the things you organize, it's pretty impressive. And you're
brother.
A dreamer. You're a doer.
Thank you, brother. And so many people are saying good night, Rob. Night, night, Rob. Amen, brother. Wonderful interview. Thank you for sharing. Good night, and God bless y'all. So we'll see.